coaches, parents, and players. Oh my. It's your boy, Dr. Coach Erwin L. Hudson, a.k.a. Dr. Coach. Oh, hoops, baby. Let's go. Folks, welcome back. It's episode 3, and I'm so excited, folks. I know you can't see it, but I'm telling you, inside, I'm bubbling up. I am so excited because 2 episodes are now in the books, and I'm still going. And what's even better, I'm getting stronger because I'm really starting to feel like I got this. I'm starting to feel good about this thing, people. In fact, I'm starting to feel a little dangerous. Although I'm a little scared, I must admit that, I still have confidence. In other words, I'm #blessed. Coaches, parents, and players. Oh my. Coaches, parents, and players. Oh my. Folks, we're back like we never left, and I'm just going to jump right in. Because, last session I introduced the coaches. It's now time for character 2, the parents. And just like the coaches, folks, I got to hit them with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm honestly hoping that none of you guys get offended because I'm only spitting the facts. And like my grandmother used to say, the truth shall set you free. Therefore, I'm obligated to bring you the unfiltered truth about the good, the bad, and the ugly perception of competition parents. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let's expose character 2, parents. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, parenting, the noun, is the raising of a child by its parents. The act or process of becoming parents, or taking care of someone in the manner of parenting. When I found a few synonyms, for example, raising, upbringing, caregiving, caretaking, or rearing. Now, all of these sound really good. Sounds like someone that's responsible or liable, accountable, beholden, obligated, amenable, or indebted to. These are all words that lends itself to parenting, but those are the good ones. However, just like I told you in the last episode, for every really good or incredibly great coach out there, there are some really, really bad ones. And in fact, there's some downright ugly ones. And this holds true for parents. For all of the really, really, really wonderful parents out there, there are some pretty bad ones. And what's worse is that there's some ugly ones. So sit back, relax, while I bring to you again the good, the bad, and the ugly truth about parents. The good. All right, folks, in my book, I talk a lot about wonderful parents. I've had the pleasure of working with many good ones. The first good parent on my list is the kind parent. They live up to their name by treating everyone within the organization, the players, the coaching staff, and all other parents with kindness, which simply means being friendly or considerate. The beautiful Dr. Maya Angelou once said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Dr. Maya Angelou was renowned for her extraordinary kindness. And that was a trait that permeated her poetry and her teachings. She emphasized acts of kindness towards humanity and all of God's creatures. This is a philosophy that's in line with kind parents. Because kind parents consistently show respect to the team, to the coaches, and fellow parents, regardless of how the game is going. That's what's important. During my 30 years of coaching and training, I've had the privilege of interacting with a lot of kind parents. Probably because most of, the people on this planet, well, not all of them, a lot of people on this planet, they understand that one of the fundamental tenets of being a human being is being kind to one another. Therefore, most parents begin the season with kindness and consideration toward everyone on the team. However, the true objective is to maintain this kindness before, during, and after the season. Therefore, when I encounter a kind parent at the beginning of the season, that's something I don't take for granted. In fact, I cherish those moments and I strive to nurture those relationships. Next up, understanding parents. Simply put, they understand. Understanding parents are defined by their compassion and empathy displayed in response to the various challenges, achievements, and setbacks experienced by the team and their student athlete. These parents not only exhibit sensitivity and thoughtfulness toward the coach's objectives, but they do it for the whole team and their individual players. But they also have a deep understanding of the intricacies that constitute a basketball system. Because the basketball team is made up of a full system, and you have to be cognizant of what is necessary to make the system work. This also includes recognizing differences in skill levels, understanding offensive and defensive positions, managing time effectively, and this is important, comprehending the nuances of the game rules and situations. The next type of supportive parent that, I've encountered during my coaching career, and it starts to build up, is the caring parent. This is very, very important because now we're moving up the food chain and it's starting to get serious. Because when I feel like a parent genuinely cares about what I'm doing and how the team is going, that makes me want to work with them a lot more. And that makes me want to work with their player even more. Because these are the parents that do whatever it takes to help their kids and the entire program thrive. For example, they're the ones that take it upon themselves to genuinely serve the program by providing hydration products, fruits, and snacks during games. They go beyond the call of duty. The bottom line is that I've learned from my experience that if a parent is not looking to help or protect everyone in the program, then more than likely that same parent will eventually be on the road to hurting the team. It's inevitable. They always change. For some reason, it is what it is. This is just how, it turns out. Because, parents can start out kind and understanding, But if they don't reach that stage of caring, they soon allow their parent-colored glasses, which I talk about in my book, to taint their perspective and eventually sabotage the entire team. So, as a natural progression, you start out as a caring parent. If cultivated properly, eventually transitions into the next level parent, which is the loving parent. And this one is close to the Holy Grail. While there isn't much difference between these two parenting styles, the loving parent and the caring parent, the loving parent takes an extra step to ensure their child's success. They do this by collaborating with the rest of the parents and the team. As a part of their loving traits, loving parents extend their kind-heartedness, their sense of understanding, and plus their willingness to care not only to their individual child, but to the rest of the team. And the great part about it is that they do all of this without expecting anything in return. That's hard, and that's tough, and that's rare. Because loving parents are truly kind and caring without ulterior motives. Their donations come straight from the heart, and it's evident in the way they passionately cheer for the team, they selflessly invest their time, and genuinely care for the team. Okay, now here's the Holy Grail. This is the one that we really want all of our parents to get to. If I were given a chance to build a parent from scratch, I would start with kindness. Then I'd mix in a good amount of understanding. Next, I'd blend in a generous amount of caring. And then I'd sprinkle a whole lot of love all over that parent. And last, but certainly not least, I would garnish them with motivation. Because motivating parents, those are the ones that create an amazing vibe which permeate throughout the entire organization. And they serve as motivation not only to their child or their individual player, they motivate the entire team. And in fact, everyone in their orbit. Even other teams can feel the motivation coming from motivating parents. The entire atmosphere of the sport improves significantly when you have motivating parents in your program. It's as if they're supercharged to motivate the players, the coaches, and even all the rest of the parents in the program. Okay, there you have it, folks. The good parents. In fact, we went from good to great. However, unfortunately, it's time to introduce the bad and the ugly. All right, folks, the first parent out there that I consider as bad is the delusional parent. Although they're fairly harmless, this just happened to be the most prevalent type of problematic parent out there. Let's define delusional. Well, first, a delusion is something that people believe in despite the total lack of evidence. That's according to Richard Dawkins. But let's go a little deeper with this. According to Webster's Dictionary Online, delusional is characterized by holding unique and eccentric beliefs or judgments that are contradicted by reality. They're contradicted also by rational argument or irrefutable evidence to the contrary. And they're typically as a symptom of a mental disorder. Wow. That's pretty deep. Despite contrary evidence, a person in a delusional state can't let go of their convictions because delusions are often reinforced by the misinterpretation of events. In other words, what they see are distorted views of reality. And like I said before, out of all of the diverse types of parents that I've had to deal with in my past history of coaching, delusional parents are not the worst out there. However, they're certainly the most common. They're the ones who have no clue about where their child fits in the overall plan of the team. Or they have a false sense of reality about the skill level that their child possesses. And what's worse is some of them simply don't care about any of that. And they just go on with their delusion. Next up is the entitled parent. I want to make sure I say this out loud. Give a shout out to my favorite motivational speaker, Mr. Les Brown. According to him, you don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you deserve. Let me say that again because it's very important. You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you deserve. Unfortunately, Mr. Brown's message didn't quite reach the entitled parents because their perspective appears to be in total opposite of what he tried to emphasize. Because they think that they can just buy what they want regardless of what they genuinely deserves. Concepts such as hard work, dedication, perseverance, commitment, and patience, whether that's in themselves or their children, appear to be foreign to them. Similarly, words like appreciation, value, and humility, they don't seem to relate or resonate with them. In my opinion, entitled parents are more inclined to align themselves with words like deception, cheating, dishonesty, corruption, and fraud. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want to say that everything about an entitled person is negative, but from what I've seen and what I've experienced, they aren't typically associated with prioritizing the team's interest above themselves. Their focus seems to be centered on them, the parents, rather than the players. Okay, but let's go back and define it again because, I really want you to understand what I mean by entitled parent. Let's talk about entitlement. First of all, as an adjective, it's defined as believing in oneself to be inherently deserving of privileges or specially granted treatments that are not deserved. For example, they expect their child to get playing time without earning it. They anticipate the spotlight to shine on their child even when they're not the star. And lastly, they assume that their child will be recruited at a prominent level when it's not warranted. Okay, folks, now we're starting to get into dangerous territory. The next parent, our next bad parent that comes to mind is the victim parent. Victim parents are fixated on the notion that the world is against them and their child. It doesn't matter if things are going well, poorly, or just mediocre. Victims always have a knack for framing everything in terms of their own persecution. I'm not going to dwell on this one for long because we have to move on to some really uglier side of parenting. But however, I do want to say something that Christopher Ferry said, and I think he said it best. Don't play the victim to circumstances that you created. Wow, that might have hit a nerve. Okay, folks, now it's time to get ugly. And these next two parents are the worst. I honestly wish they didn't exist. But since you have to take the good with the bad and the bad with the ugly, here we go. During my 30-year stint of coaching, I've had the unfortunate luck of having to deal with a few parents who were, for some reason, vindictive. Vindictive parents are the ones that seek to punish the coach or destroy the coach's career. I'm not exactly sure where this anger comes from, but the way they go about their taunts feel like something out of a Dateline murder mystery. It starts out simple, like just turning situations miserable. Then they morph into this all-out plot to get the coach fired. I've been there. In 2019, the Harvard Gazette conducted a study on the topic of abusive parents, and they noted that our culture has encouraged people to disagree by demeaning and degrading others instead of respecting all of those involved in the sport. In my humble opinion, social media has contributed heavily to this attitude and also the actions that have spawned from the mindsets of modern parents. All right, folks, here we go. The last one. Well, the last one that I want to introduce on my show. And this one is a showstopper. This one is the worst of all. The TCP. And that stands for toxic/cancerous parent. Say it again. TCP. Remember this, guys. These are the worst. Toxic/cancerous parent. All right. Toxic, cancerous parents are, as the name suggests, toxic individuals. The term toxic is synonymous with poisonous, venomous, and dangerous. Toxic people have a pervasive and insidious harmfulness that can be likened to a poisonous snake spreading its venom. Not only are they harmful, but they're noxious, they're destructive, malignant, and ultimately lethal, much like cancer. It's this cancerous nature of TCPs that poses the most horrible threat to sports programs. Allow me to take a quick moment and get personal. Everything about the word cancer disgusts me. In fact, every time I say the word, I don't even want to say it again. It makes me want to throw up, because that little word was a primary source of serious pain and destruction for me. On December 14th, 2012, on my 44th birthday, cancer claimed the life of the greatest man that I've ever known. My mentor and unofficially adopted father, Mr. Terry Williams. I won't go into detail like I did in my memoir because I don't want to get too emotional. But I definitely want to say that I miss him very much, and I think about him every day. Terry was the greatest, and cancer came in and took him. From a technical standpoint, The National Institute of Health defines cancer as a disease caused by the uncontrolled division of abnormal cells in a part of the body or the malignant growth of a tumor resulting from the division of abnormal cells. This definition closely mirrors how toxic/cancerous parents work their nasty magic. Much like cancer's slow, steady spread of abnormal cells, each TCP represents an abnormal and uncontrollable presence. Left unchecked, these bad cells can infect the team's good cells and damage the entire system. Whew. So there you have it, folks. The good, the bad, and the ugly side of parenting young athletes. By no means, folks, is this the entire list. I'm sure we'll come up with a few more when we have our discussions. In fact, I've already come up with a few more since I wrote the book, and they're pretty self-explanatory. For example, you have jealous parents. We all know a few jealous folks. Obnoxious parents. Parents, you know you can get obnoxious. And, you know, it's hard to deal with the overbearing parents, the one who coaches from the stands and living vicariously through their kids. So, don't fret. I promise to discuss each and every one of these types of parents in future episodes of Coaches, Parents, and Players. Oh my. Coaches, Parents, and Players. Oh my. All right, it's a wrap. That's it for episode 3. Next up, we're talking about the players. And don't worry, folks. The player section, it shouldn't be as brutal because, remember, these are the assets. They're the show. Without them, there's no game. So I'll make sure we take it easy on the players. All right, folks, don't forget to follow, like, and always remember to have fun and get better because that's what life in basketball is all about. Now that's a hoops, baby. Let's go!